I'm Nancy Fuller, and I have a husband and 3 adult sons. One of my sons, my middle son, who's 26, his name is Steve, and he has autism. I love talking about personal networks because I think in the end, all of us are trying to grow in relationship during our lives with other people. And for the longest time, we were seeing growth happening in other relationships with other members of our family, and it wasn't naturally happening with my special needs son, Steve. And then you start to say, well, where does all that purpose come from and all that joy? So that when you're older and you look back on your life, you're not going to look back necessarily on just the places you've been or what you've done. You're going to look about who was in your life. So it became apparent at some point to us that he deserved to have a purpose-driven life with more people in it. And what we also observed was a lot of the schooling and programming that's available out there for people with special needs is not really designed for developing a personal relationship and friendship with people. So we realized we couldn't rely on the systems that were available to make that happen for our son. So I would say, 4 years ago, his social network was very limited. And slowly, over the last 4 years, it has started to blossom. And what I would share with you is that we're not where we want to be long-term for Steve in all the relationships and social network that we want him to have. But what's beautiful is we know we're on a journey and we're on our way toward that. So I don't know that we'll ever have the end destination perfectly, but sometimes when you don't have intention on where you want to go, how are you ever going to get there? So now I feel like through the help of a lot of people, I've learned enough to know that we have to live intentional lives if we want to grow it. And now Steve's life has some more meaningful relationships in it. And I know based on our intention, that will only improve year after year. We were out there just telling friends, hey, do you know anybody that's really into art? Ideally, that lives in our area, out in Anderson Township. So, in fact, one of my friends said, you know what? I don't know if she'll be interested, but I'll just put a text out to my friend Elaine and let her know that you're looking for this, and we'll see whether or not it makes sense to connect. So sure enough, Elaine thought, this is cool, right in my own area. And she reached out to me on text. We started texting back and forth. Next thing you know, she came over for a glass of wine, and she and I and Steve sat around talking about how he loves art, and he started sharing with her the art that he's done. So that's all it took to start a relationship with Elaine. And over time, I love the saying, friends become your chosen family. And Elaine is now an indirect family member of ours. She's not blood relative whatsoever, but when things go wrong in our family, she'll be the one out there calling and trying to help. And so she's just one example of reaching out through my network and just asking that question. Was this intentional? Absolutely. It was intentional when we ran a home program one-on-one. Then we kind of became unintentional by following just what our systems and our institutions tell us we're supposed to do. And then we became intentional again about 3 years ago. And Steve is growing again, and so I know we're on the right path.